because that was one of the complaints for you to emerge from Russia. How would you describe the conditioning of the players as they come into camp this time around?
Well, it's difficult to tell because you need to play games. It's a tricky time of year, this is, because a lot of our A-League players have not played any games. I think the last game the Phoenix players played was probably 3 weeks ago. I think Woodsy coming in will be the fittest. Ryan Thomas will be the fittest. They've had games. But look, this is always notoriously a tricky time of year for our players, for the A-League. But there's no complaints from me. We have to see on Friday night.
And Michael said that you guys have had a bit of a debrief from Russia to start the camp. What were the things you sort of went through with the team?
Well, look, I think it was no different from every tour we have, every game. We review the games, we review the tour, and it's just tactical improvements. We want to keep improving as a team. I think the biggest thing I would only say publicly is that we know we've got to be, to beat the best teams in the world, we've got to be fitter, we've got to be as fit as we can. I think with New Zealand, with ourselves, we have to be on it in every single area. We have to be at our best in every single area. If we're not at our best in every single area, we won't beat the biggest teams in the world. So that's what we're working towards.
And you're working towards November when you will be playing one of the biggest teams in
Yes.
the world, no matter who it is. So, based on the performances in Russia, how big do you feel the gap is, or isn't?
Look, I don't think it's a big gap. I think there's a big gap in terms of the size of the challenge, size of the national teams, in size of the teams we're playing against. All of those things in terms of the squad sizes, where our players are playing, the levels of professionalism, all those different things that we know about. But I think what we showed in Russia, even with ourselves, that we weren't at our very best, and it was and these aren't excuses. These are things that internally we know we know what the situation is, but it was a tour where, for example, we have players in the squad that hadn't played for 2 months, close to the Phoenix players. We had other players of the Melbourne players that hadn't played a lot of games. We had some amateur players on there playing at a lower level. But given all that, and given the time of year, we were still able to compete with, for example, Mexico. We went 1-0 up. We created more chances than I think New Zealand have ever created against a top team. We were the more dominant team in that game, and if we were able to sustain that level of game for longer, then we have a great chance. That's twice now we played Mexico, and we're disappointed coming off that. Not only we not nicked a point, but we've not won the game. So I think, but according to our friend here and other people, thinks we're absolutely miles off, and I think it's quite easy for people to completely overlook. Actually, well, like I said after in Russia, when we step outside of New Zealand, everyone actually sees we're actually doing good for such a small team. To do what we did against Mexico was quite unbelievable. To do what we did against Portugal, really, for up until 80 minutes was really, really good. Created chances. We were, had a really strong game plan. But again, physically, we were unable to sustain that. So to answer your question, we know we're not like other teams where we play against the top teams every window. That was the first time in 3 years, more or less, we played a tournament. First time in 7 years, the team have played a tournament and against opposition like that.
Okay, so
no. So 7 years since the last tournament. So our development, our preparation to be able to beat those teams it's not going to happen 6 months ago or 12 months ago. We have to peak and be ready by November.
Okay, so how big is the step, or how steep is the learning curve between now and November?
Well, look, as I've just gone round in circles there to answer, against Mexico, we have shown, and Mexico is a team that's going to be of the same level of the fifth best team in South America. We did it last October against USA and Mexico. At a time of year that's probably better for us as well. So look, physically we have to be at our very best in every position. and tactically and every other department we've got to be our best. And we're not far away. Listen, I'm not changing what I've said since I've been here. We will be ready by November.
Okay. In terms of, it's going to be Solomon's this week, and a big team come November. Will Japan help in between?
I don't know. I don't know. Was that? Are we? I don't know. I don't know about that.
So McGlinchey jumped the gun there.
Oh, right, okay. So, yeah, listen, that game's not been announced or been confirmed. So, whoever we play in October, and
so
there
you
are.
will be playing someone?
100%. We're not going to go into our November game without playing a game in October. I think we learned a lot from the last campaign and lots of different things. And I said when I was first here, we have to play in every window, and we've done that so far. And no, we'll be playing in October, and that's going to be a big test for us.
What are you expecting from Chris Wood when he comes into camp?
Same as what we always expect. We want him to come in. He's the captain. We want him at this stage of the campaign to lead the team, to everything we're talking about now in our meetings, the videos that are being sent out to the team in between windows. We want, Woods is the same thing as what we want him every window. He's the captain. We want him to lead, and if he can pitch in with some goals, we'll be happy.
So your expectations don't grow because of the profile, I suppose, of the player now?
I think if you know Woodsy, you will know that the type of character is not going to. I don't foresee a different character coming into camp. I think if you look at the profile of the team, and I've said this to the players quite a few times, there's no bad characters in this team. It's like we've got a really good set of lads, and Woodsy is a part of that. It's exactly the same as the rest of the team. It's like, I don't want to say this, but it's a typical Kiwi, good bunch of lads. There's no issues there, so I don't foresee any issues there. A couple of tactical things that we're going to change, the tweak, but no, I think we're looking forward to him being here.
Sounds like coffee's on him.
Well, I don't drink coffee personally. I have a cup of tea, but listen, we're in camp, so everything gets paid for.
Oh,
so
not by Chris.
Not by Chris.
When you go over to Europe in June and you find out that your conditioning's not where you like it to be, did you consider switching from such an intense, pressing style of play?
I think when you play against the best teams in the world, I think whatever game plan you have, if you want to get a result against the best teams in the world, you have to be fitter than the best teams in the world. You have to be fit enough. So that's quite a basic sort of view of, and quite a simple question really in terms of.
Well, you've told us.
No, so can I just finish? So what I'm saying is, to play any style of play. Do you want to jump in again?
No, I'm waiting for you to finish.
Okay, to play any style of play, whatever style of play you play, if you want to beat the best teams in the world, you got to be at your peak in terms of physical condition. So we haven't got time now, but if we want to go statistically and we can get out the amount of running teams do, playing a pressing game or defending deep, or at the weekend Premier League teams that sit deep and let teams have the ball, actually they do more running.
But not as intense running.
So when you're chasing, listen, I'm not going to get into that because we don't have time, but that's look.
I've tried to call you and talk to you about it.
Okay, all right, next question.
Is it disappointing that you're still going on about fitness 3 years into being in charge of this team? And is that your fault or the players' fault?
I think look, the decisions that we're making now in terms of fitness, these things should have been taken care of. I should have been dealing with them 2 years ago. But if you remember, if you take it, because we all have very short memories here, don't we? And if you go right back to when I first came in, we had, we had a very, very light squad. We didn't have the squad we have now. We didn't have players like, Winston Reid every window. We didn't have Tommy Smith was in retirement. We didn't have all the new players we have now. And I think for the first 6 or 7 windows, actually, we actually weren't able to hold a high level of accountability in this area because we actually needed players to come. We actually couldn't drop any players for my first 4 or 4 windows, we actually had to heavily rely on certain players, irrespective of how they showed up in camp, irrespective of what we said. We actually could not afford to drop anyone because we couldn't afford to put a team together. Now you add on that, we have an eligibility saga which costs how many players? Declan Wynn, Storm Roux, many players who don't play. James Moose is back. Lots of players who are not available for selection. That takes your ability to pick even more. So yeah, look, I'm quite clear on this. Fitness is such a big thing with me. It's been very frustrating for me that it's been very slow in this area, but I'm so grateful now. I would say the last 2 or 3 windows really, or 4 windows, we've had the strongest squad, and finally I'm able to make some decisions and drop players as a result of not being at the standard. Listen, the decisions I've made it this window and the last, I couldn't have done that 2 years ago. Because if I'd have done that, we wouldn't have qualified for the Confederation Cup. We wouldn't have had the players. So, yeah, that's where we're at.
Last question for me. Dane wasn't out there today, as far as I can see.
Yeah, same thing. He same as you know, the situation with the other 2 that we've left out. He come in, he was unfit, body fat was high, and yeah, we've given him a couple of tests, fitness tests, and he's not where we need to be. So
is he here in Auckland or has he gone home?
No, he's gone home.
How hard was that decision to make?
Well, I feel I have empathy, but I don't have sympathy because everyone's responsible. Players are responsible for it doesn't tell me a great deal, and let's also take in consideration he's just turned 18. He's a young kid. He's a very, very important player to us. He's got a big future with us. Big future he's going to be a big player. He's going to be a really good player. And young players and young kids, they make mistakes, especially when he's only just become a professional player. He's been thrust in here, played in against Ronaldo and all these. That's a lot to deal with as a young kid. Unfortunately, he needs to learn, and he will learn, because it was a difficult, very, very difficult conversation. I know he was upset, and it's hard for him. But I've told him that he is a massive part of what we want to do. I love him I back him as a player. He's going to be back in here in no time. I know he'll respond the right way, but it doesn't. So to answer your question, it was an easy decision, because, like I've just said to Andrew here, this has been eating at me for 3 years, and I've wanted to make these decisions 2.5, 3 years ago, but we've never had the squad. Now we have the squad. Look, just so you know, the thing with Dane, if this was against Oman 2 years ago or China, and Dane turns up the way he does, I'm going to have to bite the bullet, and I'm not happy with it. I'm going to have words, but what else can I do? We've got no one in that position. So, you know, it's that's where we're at. Look, just on that, people sort of forget that, you know, 3 years ago, the team had failed to qualify for the Confederations Cup. It lost 9-2 on aggregate to Mexico, and a completely different performance that we've had against Mexico in the last 2 games. Lost 9-2 on aggregate, and in that game we had players coming out of retirement, we had players playing out of position, we had players making their debut in the most important game of the campaign. So, and lose it and not get into the conference, the team at that stage needed rebuilding, and it's taken time. So yes, I would love to have been able to do all these things a long time ago. The players know where we're at. Players, we all believe in ourselves and we know where we're at, and I'm so happy now we can do these. We can keep driving the standards up, which I talk about in every press conference. But I think we forget that very recently, where the team was 3 years ago, it has been a rebuild, and we are in a position now where we've now played Mexico twice, and the last 2 times we've lost 2-1. Second game we went 1-0 up, and we're outstanding. Informed football people who know the game talk about New Zealand have never created as many chances with our high tempo game, never created as many chances. By the way, we put a couple of those chances away. Mexico don't go, we should have won the game 2 or 3-0. So we are making massive strides from where the team was that lost against Mexico 9-2 and failed to get the Confederations Cup. I'm incredibly proud of this team. I'm incredibly proud of the players that get criticised all the time, that qualified us for the Confederations Cup when we didn't have the squads we have now. So the players have done really well to get to the Confeds, get ourselves in this position now where we have a strong squad that we can make the decisions we're making now.
Sending a player home, is that unprecedented for you? Have you ever sent a player home?
No, well, I don't think I have. No, I don't think I have first time. But I think it's look, I have no other choice. I have no other.
Could you have kept him in camp?
What message does that say? When we have the thing is, we've been clear. We have a very short amount of time to make an impact. A real short amount of time. We know that in the Confederations Cup, we beat ourselves before we even started. That's not to say if we were at the top physical, we would have beaten those teams, but we would have actually given ourselves a much better chance. We did so well at the Confederations Cup, and we weren't at our best. We did so well against Mexico, so well against Portugal. We did ourselves proud coming away from the tournament. And now we come into this stretch. I've been very clear with the team about what's expected in terms of physical fitness. 2 players have been dropped as a result. It would only be fair that players come into the camp, if they were in the same shape as the 2 players that have been dropped, then what does that say to them? I've had strong words with other players. This is like a given. It's not even a. This shouldn't even. Not in this scenario, but for me, it's not even a conversation. It's either we're at this level or we're not. And when we come into camp, I have zero control over conditioning. Zero control. All we do now on the training pitch for 3.5 days is shape and organise 23 players into a team shape. Can't affect it. So players show up, they're responsible for their actions.
So why was Dane not in shape?
Well, I've just explained that sometimes young kids make mistakes, and look, when you're making it as a player, when you're a young kid, or you make your debut for your club, or you play for your country, it's not like then suddenly everything clicks and you live so professionally and you have this great lifestyle and you do everything right, you eat right, you sleep well, all those things. Now you're a young kid, you've just played in the biggest tournament in the world, thrust in out of nowhere 3 months before he wasn't, that wasn't even on the radar. This has all happened. He's made his professional debut, and life happens to young kids. But what happens is, these are the expectations of the team. He's taking it so well. He's a great young kid. He's going to be back with us, and this will be such an important lesson for him that I know he's going to learn. And one thing I know is, because I know the type of character he is, he will be back here in October, whoever we play against, and I know he's going to respond the right way. So I'm really, look, trust me, I would want him in camp. I like him as a player. He started the last 2 games for me in the Confederations Cup, so it's hard for me to do it, but it's the right thing.
Thanks very much, guys.
Can I just ask
One more.
You've got the Solomon Islands
Yeah.
this Friday. We'll talk about that.
Yes.
So Chris Wood, he's probably going to be targeted. He's got this big profile.
Yeah.
Now. How are you going to work around that? With him being, what's the game? Not the game plan, but how are you going to?
Listen, I think the profile is sort of changed in, media-wise and PR-wise, but
also for the fans, they're going to be coming to see Chris Wood. Other players are going to be competition. Looking at Chris Wood.
Look, I have to say, Woodsy can handle the pressure.
Cool.
Look, he can handle. He's played here at our first game in 3 years, first home game in 3 years, which was quite a lot of pressure really. We haven't played at home for such a long time. He managed that. He's played in other scenarios where he's played against Ireland teams, important games, and the pressures, and they've been all over him, and he's been a target. Woodsy is big enough and strong enough to look after himself physically, and we have enough players on the pitch. We played against Solomon Islands in the Nations Cup, and to be fair, that was our best game. We played the best football, and that's how it should be. The whole team now is it's not all about. It's not all down to Woodsy to help us win the game. We've got a squad here, a team here, that we all believe that can do the job.
Cool, and just like you were saying before, all of the players in the team or in your squad are contracted. So this is your guys' chance to really give it to other teams ahead of the World Cup next year.
So, can you repeat that?
All of the players in your squad are fully contracted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good shot for you guys to really give it to teams coming up and
Give it to teams.
other teams.
So Solomon, yeah. Look,
So coming up in the year.
Yeah. Look, I think these games are always really tricky. They're we played Fiji and they come and they defend, and New Caledonia at home they come and they defend. So they're tricky games. These are always tricky games. Then you go away and you're playing in a lot of extreme conditions, and so it's not always a pretty. The end result for us is to get through to November.